saying this word is relevant even to those who feel that they are slightly over what we would call as youth. But because of what he was going to do, then it will cut across. But of course, because it's a youth Sunday, then most of the references or the examples or the illustrations will be focused on the youth. My name is William Nyiro. For those who do not know me, I'm born again. I love the Lord. I serve here in a number of ways. And one of them is I am in the youth. I was actually following up so that they don't kick me out of their group. I'm in their group. The youth, what's up? So I was thinking like maybe someone will start to say that this one looks like he's not following, so he must be removed. Receive greetings. I should have started with that one. Receive greetings from my wife, Patricia. I think someone has already introduced me as being a husband of one wife. But I think maybe next time she should say it more forthright, that it is one wife. So it does not create like maybe there was another one, you know. And I know she's following. My children, I think some of them are here. They are on the other side of Sunday school. The other two are in school. One is in college, another one is in high school. And we bless the Lord. So let's go to our text for the day. Joshua 1, verse 9. Maybe let's start from Joshua 1. If we can get that one. We will just... After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord spoke to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant, saying, "My servant Moses is dead. Now proceed to the Jordan, you and the people, into the land that I'm giving to them, to the Israelites." Verse 3, "Every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon, I have given to you as I promised to Moses." Verse 4, "From the wilderness of Lebanon as far as great the river Euphrates, all the land of Hittites, to the great sea in the west shall be your territory." Verse 5, "No one shall be able to stand against you in all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will not fail you or forsake you. Be strong and courageous, for you shall put these people in possession of the land that I swore to their ancestors to give them." Verse 7, "Only be strong and very courageous." Remember, we have already seen one in verse 6, isn't it? Let's move back to verse 6. Verse 6 was saying, "Be strong and courageous, for you shall put these people in possession of the land." Then we move to verse 7. What does it say? "Only be strong and very courageous," this time, "being careful to act in accordance with all the law that my servant Moses commanded you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, so that you may be successful wherever you go." Verse 8, "This book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth. You shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do what? To act in accordance with what is written on the Lord. For then you shall make your way prosperous, and then you shall be successful." And then verse 9 again, "I hereby command you, be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened nor dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." So the first thing that is coming to mind is, why is this repetition so much? Why does he keep on saying be strong and be courageous? Did he have anything to fear? Was there a reason for him to be afraid? Were there things that would cause him to be in fear? Because it would seem that it was a very important thing, such that there is a repetition, that be strong, be courageous. Be strong, be courageous. Be strong, be courageous. What are the differences between the two? Strength and courage. Maybe you can pause and think. What is the difference? Can you be strong and not courageous? Is it possible that you are very strong, but you are not courageous? Is it also possible for you to be courageous and not be strong? I hear someone is really processing. You can be very courageous, but not, and you can be very strong and not courageous. Because courage is more of an intrinsic thing. Courage makes you start. It is the one that makes you want to begin. But you cannot go on, you cannot finish this task if you do not have strength. Strength is required for you to complete. So when you start something, you will need first courage so that you begin. But then for you to proceed and come to the end, you need strength. If you have strength and you do not have courage, you will sit with your strength. Isn't it? You can be seated somewhere. You are very strong, but you don't have the courage. When you are in school, you've seen those people who are kind of being bullied. A very big boy. But people just push him. And he's just, And the people who are pushing him are very small compared to him. But you look at this young man, he's just not moving. Is it that he doesn't have strength? Most likely no. But what is he lacking? Courage. Those who went to school during our time, there was something that was called rec. Rec. Mnajua rec? Uko pale, you are with your parent, you have just finished the processes of registration, you are yet to be shown where the dome is, and somebody passes and just runs his fingers on your face. You didn't face that. You went to very good schools. Oh. Ilikuwa inaitwa rec. Unajua ni wanafunzi wengi and wewe ni form 1. So you are just wondering what is, then you just unasikia tu mkono imeteremka kwa uso hadi. And you don't have the courage to face them. Why would there be reasons? One that I'll be talking about shortly, because we'll run through this in quite a short time. The responsibility that was ahead of him. He was being given a responsibility. And the person who had been leading this team, or this group, or these people for all that time, 40 years in the desert, was Moses. And now the time has come to an end, and he is being given to take over now from Moses. It's one thing to be under someone, and it's another thing to be at the head of it. That pressure that comes up with you being there at the top. At my place of work, when there's something, some customer is not happy, is making noise, what do people say? Wacha aende aone manager, sindio? It looks a very easy statement until you are the manager. Then you can feel that heat that comes with that statement. Customer hataki kutulia, hataki kunyamaza, is shouting, he has a complaint. Na watu wanasema, wacha aende aone manager. Na watu wakisema wacha aende aone manager, watu ni kama wamefanya nini? Wameondokea. Sasa ni kama imebaki wewe na mteja sasa. And so when it is now your turn to step there, then you now realize that, kumbe, it was not what I thought. And this is one of the things that is happening to Joshua. Because the leader who has been with him for all those years is now is no longer there. And he has to take over. The responsibility is weighing on him. At work, even at home. Those cases there. I know some people who can even forget to lock the door because someone is there. Yeah? But when the person is not there, they lock the door They take sofas, they put behind the door. It's because you know there's someone. The day it is you, hapo mbele, then you realize, oh, this is something else. And it gives some kind of pressure. But number two, the predecessor. You know he's taking over from Moses. And who is Moses? You know the kind of person Moses was. At least quite a bit of what Moses did. This was a man like no other. He was the greatest of all the prophets. The Bible says he took the children from Egypt and they crossed over the Red Sea. And you know how that happened? In a way that you cannot imagine. In a very miraculous way. We know how, we read how he split the Red Sea. And people walked across the sea as if they were walking on dry land. That's what the Bible says. Can you imagine? This is a sea. This is a wall of water on this side. This is another wall on this other side. And you are just walking across. I'm not sure how you would feel if you were part of that group. Nothing is holding the water. And imagine imesimama tu hivi in a pile. And water is also in a pile on this side. And you are walking here. And it was not like a small place or a short distance. Because when you read further in the story, those who followed them, what happened? The water closes on them and they all die in the sea. Then they get to the desert. You know, there are many things that have happened, the miracles that happened in the desert. You know, they get to a place there is no water. And Moses is told by God to speak to a stone. And the stone gives water. They get to a place they don't have food. Yeah? And what happens? You know these stories. Isn't it? What happens when there's no food? God provides food in the form of manna. They get to a place they say we don't have meat. Does God provide meat? Yes, he does provide meat. You can see all those miraculous things that happened. And this is the person you are taking over from. So you are taking over from someone who has done great things. You are talking to someone who has done, who has spoken to God. The Bible says he spoke to God one on one, like a man who will speak to his friend. Numbers 12. If you can bring it up. Numbers 12:6. It says, when I have a prophet, God is speaking. I speak to him through dreams, through visions. But for Moses, that was not the case. I spoke to him one on one, like one will speak to someone. You can imagine, I am talking and God responds, like we are seated here, the way we are seated. Not like people tell you, God told me, I saw, you know, I was told, I was shown. No. There is no doubt that it is him who is speaking. There is no doubt that it is I who is responding. And this is the man you are taking over from. You can imagine. It can be intimidating because of the person you are taking over from. When the time when the CEO of what's his name, Degwa, when he was taking Safaricom, you know, there was that feeling that, you know, even the news was he's taking from the feet of giants, because they had been Colimo and Michael Joseph, and there were big names in the country. They were known. And now another person is coming in who is probably kind of not known, and then we are wondering, will he fit into these shoes? Because of the people that had already been before him. But what about the people themselves? What kind of people were they, the Israelites? If there's something about grumbling, they deserve it. If there's a medal, they deserve it. They have complained about almost everything. And these are the people now you are going to lead. They are experts. They say they don't have food, food comes. Then they say, Now what kind of food is this? Why did you even bring us here? We are missing the place. We will be seated around pots of gold, of what? Meat and cucumber. You heard that? I didn't know cucumber was such a serious thing, until I read this one. We would be seated around pots of meat and cucumber and managu, for those who like managu. And now you have brought us to a place where we don't even have meat. And the way they are saying it, it's like, what kind of a person are you? Until God says, you will get the meat, and I will give you meat to eat, not for a day, until it comes out of your nostrils. And God sends quail. And they get the meat. Then something happened. They are grumbling about another thing. So the people. So I've mentioned about 3 things, isn't it? The responsibility. The what? The predecessor, the person he's taking over from. Number 3, the kind of people he is leading. Because there are people who are very stiff-necked. And God himself has told him, maybe we can read Deuteronomy 31:14. I don't know whether you have it. Deuteronomy 31:14. God is telling him, leave alone the way they have behaved now. After you take over, it will even be worse. So you are having a people that you know are very difficult. You are having a people that are very difficult, and you are being told, after you, they will be more difficult. And now you are being told to take over. Yes, the Lord says to Moses, time to die. And he says, Moses, Joshua presented themselves in the tent. Go to verse 15. Proceed. Okay. But that is what the story is saying down there. Moses is speaking in the God is speaking to Moses in the hearing of Joshua, that they will even be more difficult. And Moses himself tells Joshua, if they have been this stubborn while I am with them, it will even be more when I am dead. And now these are the people you are leading. And finally, the task itself. What is the task? Taking the children of Israel into the promised land. This was not a small thing. It is something that had been predicted for many years. This is something that had been waited upon over 400 years. When God speaks to Abraham in Genesis 15, when he tells him about a land that is promising, that is a promise that he's giving him, a people that he will settle in that place. And 400 years later, this task is coming into completion. The great man Moses has done his bit, and now it is up to you to finish the task. You are the last man on the line. I know I'm speaking to young people. You watch football a lot. Yeah? Can you imagine the tension when it is penalties? It is just you. And people are just waiting on you. Ukiuza, ni wewe. And the hopes of everyone are just hanging on you. You have heard of people who get killed during World Cup, kwa sababu ulikosa penalty. We were waiting on you. Ilikuwa wewe tu utufanyie hii kitu. And then wewe ukatupa nje. So this is a big task. It's going to completion. And the person to complete it is him. One day we had a football match. And I was a player in that match. Someone is smiling. You think I can't do it? Oh. I'm very fearless, by the way. Sasa, they put me as the goalkeeper. I did not choose. Wao ndio waliniambia wewe unakaa unaweza shika hiyo mpira. So I was the goalkeeper. 2 teams. Pa. Vile hiyo mpira ilipita. And the people were, wow, now you're just standing there. And I'm telling them now, watu 10 mmeacha mpira imepita, you are shouting about just one person. The ball started from your side. How many are you that side? 10 of you. Nyote mmeshindwa na mpira. You are shouting about one person. And so the task is huge. And he has to complete it. He has to accomplish it. But what were his fears? And I will speak to 2. Just because of time. One, will these people accept him to be leading these children? Remember, we have been told in the Bible, in Numbers 14, when they are talking about the spies going into the land to check it. Moses sends 12 people to go and spy the land, the promised land. And they go. And these people who are sent there were not small people. Or do I say small? They were leaders of their tribes. They were not just anybody. They were serious fellows who were picked to go for this mission. 12 of them. One from each tribe. It happens that from the tribe of Ephraim is Joshua. Who by this time is called Joshua, but his name was who? What was his name? Joshua was a name he was given by Moses. His name was not Joshua. Okay, you will find out that later. So, out of these, the 12 that had been sent, only 2 are giving a favorable report. You know that story. And the children of Israel say they want to stone Joshua and Caleb. You can imagine that opposition of, say, millions of people. Put it even at 1 million if you want, on the minimum. Are you able to stand there? Think about the kind of challenge that you have maybe in your class or in your college or your colleagues. How many are they? Will they be the numbers that we are talking about? The whole Israelite community. And they want to stone them. Because you are saying that we go into that land. Because 10 of the spies are saying what? That land is good. Because they have been told to go and find out whether the land is good, whether the soil is good, whether the people are many or few, whether they are strong or weak, whether their towns are fortified or unwalled. Those are the things that they were to find out. And they have come back, and on their report, what are they saying? They are strong people. Their walls are fortified. Walled cities. What do they say about the people living there? They are giants that are living there. Actually, we saw the sons of Anak. And they are saying, those people, the way we looked at them, we are like what? We are like grasshoppers. You can imagine the difference, the size of a person and a grasshopper. And that is how they viewed them. They said, when we looked at them, we are like grasshoppers. And it must have been the same with them. You see now they finished the sentence. Yani mimi niliwaona, we are like grasshoppers to them. And for them also, they saw like we are grasshoppers. And 10 of them say, no, we can't go to that land. And these 2, Joshua and Caleb, say, no, we must go. Why? Because God has promised to give us that land. This is where courage is needed. You are going against so many people who are of the opposite thought. Now, you are among those who are being stoned. Now you are supposed to be the one who is the leader. How will it happen? Itakuwaje? Isi unaona ni noma? How will it happen? That time when you had another leader, they wanted to stone you. Now you are the one. You are the one in charge. Na mambo yako tayari walikuwa wanasema hawataki. Now here you have to take over. How does he lead these people? If you look at the personalities of Joshua and Moses, they are different people. Moses looks like this man who is very empathetic, very listening. You tell him, you convince him, he says, oh yes, let's do it that way. The people sin, he goes to God, he says, oh God, have mercy on these people. You know, sometimes he's given answers that I think are really annoying. When you look at the story of the golden calf, the Bible says Moses and who's this? Joshua. They go up the mountain. Yeah, 40 days, 40 nights. Then God tells him, go down. Your people have sinned. They have made a... And Moses and Joshua are coming back. And when they come back, Moses is asking Aaron, what is it that you have done? And what is Aaron saying? These people, because the people had said, make a God for us, you know, that kind of thing. He said, these people they wanted. And so I told them to give me their gold, their ornaments. And what did I do? I threw them into the fire, and out came this calf. Can you listen to that? What would you have done? You know, it's an answer that is even annoying. Are you just saying you threw gold and a calf just jumped out? And this is Aaron responding to Moses. But when you look at the verses up there, it says a tool had been used to fashion that idol. Well, it was cast of gold. There are many processes, isn't it? You must first make the mold. You do the thing that has the shape of a calf. You get the gold, the ornaments they have given. You get a furnace so that you melt all that. Then you pour it inside. You wait it to cool. I mean, a lot of things that happen. You can't just say, I threw it and a calf came out. And Moses is not saying anything, by the way. He's not telling him, what kind of answer are you even giving me? Are you even listening to yourself? And he prays to God. Tells God to forgive him. He's a man with a very different kind of spirit. Of course, we are told that he was angry. He breaks the tablets. He crashes the gold calf, makes it to powder, throws into the water, forces them to drink. But how does he react on those cases? Look at Joshua on the other side. One day, Moses is telling God, this weight is too much for me. Can I get some support? And he tells them, get 70 elders. I will pour my spirit to them so that you share that burden. And when these 70 are nominated, 2 of them don't go to the tent of meeting. It's called Eldad and Meldad. You can read that story there. And for those who have gone to the tent of meeting, they start to prophesy. Those who have not gone, the 2 who are still in the camp, they also start to prophesy. What does Joshua say? Stop them. Stop them. They did not come here. You cannot let them to prophesy there, and they did not come. They were supposed to come here. He's a man who really loves order, you know. Imagine now a more difficult people with someone who does not seem to like people who are taking corners. So the task that was ahead. What other issue would he be grappling with? Failure. What if I fail? What if I don't make it? Welcome to another story there just across Jordan, where even Joshua himself is saying, God, why did you allow us to be humiliated like this? It would have been better if we remained on the other side of Jordan. So there was a possibility of them failing. And that was clear to him. You know, even as we talk about this story, these people who are with him going into the land have not even seen the giants. You remember that generation which saw is another one. They all died. So these ones who are remaining, he's taking, have not seen those giants. But Joshua has seen them. So he should even be more afraid than them. They have not seen. They are just hearing stories. But he saw them because he was one of the spies who went. Are these the same things that our young men are facing today? Does it relate to what we are facing as young people? Talking about acceptance. Will I fit in? And God is telling Joshua, be fearless, be courageous. You may not get that acceptance that you think you will get. But you have to move ahead because of the task that I have given you. Because I am with you. He keeps on emphasizing that. And we have situations where young people have a real problem when it comes to acceptance. Acceptance even of self. There are people who are struggling just to accept themselves, let alone being accepted by others, themselves. They don't accept who they are. They don't accept how they look. Do I give you examples? Or you know? They don't know. They don't like how they look. So what do? Yeah? They want to change the way they look. How they are, the color of their skin. They want to change what they have. If you feel you have if you feel you have less, what do? I'm told there are clothes that they buy. When they put them on and then they put the dress there, unaona Coca-Cola. They are not in acceptance of where they are. Others, it's about gender. You know about a young man called Kinuthia? Umemuona? He is like a lady. It's a young man. But he does not like being a man. He wants to be a girl. For whatever reason, I don't know. But sijui kama huku huwa anaweka vitu huku, because you look at him and you can't tell. This other side, huku nako kumesonga, hivyo. And the way he dresses, the way he just makes his face, and some time back there were people who were paraded who were misleading people in clubs. You go there and you think that it's a lady because they are vile even the way they talk. I'm told ladies have not I'm told, I also know. They have a way they sometimes we really don't want a responsibility. Nasukumia watu wanasema hii najua sasa hii acha nisiseme ni watu wanasema. But sometimes it's acceptance even within family. Unfortunately, there are those that probably even your parents, whether your mom or your dad, probably even has spoken to you and you have heard it, that they feel like having you was a mistake. Do we have young people who have come across that? They feel they have told you that if it were not for you, ningekuwa niko mbali sana. But wewe umenikatizia vitu nyingi sana. And it's a struggle that you're having as a young person. And some, maybe you're in families, but for whatever reason, you feel like you are being picked out. Looks like people don't like you, or they don't treat you well. It could even be a perception of yourself having that. What about peers? We can talk about this for hours. How they influence us. And why that is happening is because as young people we want to be accepted. We want to belong. We want to be in a group. We want to feel, to look, or to look like them, to fit in a certain group. And for some cases, we are even influenced into behaviors that are not good. Not for ourselves, not for our present, not for our future. Last time I was talking to a colleague of mine, and she came across a message. This message is written by her boy. A young boy about, did she say 20 or thereabout? And she has written a message, and this message is directed to a girl. And he says in that message, "Good night, my lovely lady." Lovely lady or lovely girl. I think that the word was lovely girl. "Good night, my lovely girl." That is an SMS that she has seen in the phone of her son. And let me tell you, the lady gets very excited. She's very happy. She's even calling her cousins. Thank God my son is straight. Imagine hapo ndio umetufikisha kama parents. She is thanking God that the son is straight. Ati yako na girl. Otherwise hangeshtuka kama angekuwa na boy. Na naona kuna watu wananyamaza sana hapa. Wanajifanya kama hawajui. But we have this problem with young people. The girls want to be also with girls. The boys also want to be with boys. So you have a boy, what is that now? Influence. Because you want to fit in. You have a group of people that you want to belong to. And because all the girls in that group have girlfriends, you also, because you are feeling left out. An issue about acceptance. And we could talk about how do we help that. Interestingly, again this week, I happened to be coming from town. We had a meeting. It was a farewell party, actually, for a colleague. And then out of that, as I'm coming out, I come out with one colleague who says, I drop them this other side. Tumetoka Mombasa. So drop and this was Mtwapa. And as we're coming, of course, the story about their child and that kind of thing, young men, and how they are really giving them a hard time for them wanting to fit. And then when we come, somehow, the child, the daughter, has other two friends, yes, wako pale. They are waiting. They are having some time hapo. I don't know what exactly they were doing. But then, they're also coming this side. Actually, wako wanashuka Mtwapa. Mtwapa is where the daughter was, which were to pick, then wanashukia huku mbele. And when they get in, and the kind of conversation that these young men are saying about now parents, ni kama walikuwa wananipatia lecture kwa kimpango. They were not talking to me, but the way they are saying, parents these days, I don't do what. Maybe parents we could help by being available and talking. But the call on this one, and why these examples I'm bringing, because they touch on the young people, is the call for being strong, being courageous. Because we are kind of forcing to be in particular groups of people. You have heard about the issues of how you make those decisions, how you pick the right decisions, how you pick the right friends, how you ensure you increase your circle of friendship. So that it is not like if this group does not look very good, you have no other group to go to, but you have another group that you can identify yourself with. But there are other fears, not just the acceptance, but the failure itself. Is he going to make it? And as young people also, we have fears of things that we want to do, and we are wondering whether we will succeed. About education, even about the causes. Maybe you picked a cause that you really think like, is this the one that? And so you're afraid. You are fearful about what you are, what the future looks like. You went to one that you thought was not the best. And you know the drill. You know when you are finishing primary school, when you ask what they want to become, what do they say? Neurosurgeon. It takes the day. Is there a neurosurgeon here? Do we have one? This thing looks so cool. If there is one, I suggest that akuwe anaketi hapa mbele. Hata maybe Sunday unaweza mruhusu awe anatusalimia tu. Because when you ask kids, primary school going, wanafanya KCP, what do you want to become? Neurosurgeon. That is number one. I don't know what, but it's fascinating. I think I also like it. But then as they go from 1, from 2, what happens? Yeah? Things start taking. Yeah, because you are told, oh, for you to do this course, you must have a very good grasp of biology. Then you take biology. Then from 1, they ask you, what is biology? Then you start cramming, oh, it is the study of life. And well, then you come to a place, they start talking about mitochondrion. Golgi bodies. You know, that is cell physiology. And you feel like, you are getting lost now here. You start saying, oh, God has appointed others to be doctors, others to be... You get to something they call mitosis, meiosis. Mitosis 1, meiosis 2. Those things were confusing. And then you start saying, oh, now God, you know, God has a path for every person. I also went through that. I also wanted to be, I'm not sure whether I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. But my career kept on changing. Like that. By the time I was finishing Form 4, I wanted to be an engineer. Engineer. Mwana ingekaje? Mechanical engineering. Lakini sasa after KCSE, devil is a liar. That cluster thing, it looks like things were not adding up. So they called me for another course, Bachelor of Science, General. I said I can't do that thing. I'm too sharp for that. So the first weeks when you go, I don't know whether it happens now, you are allowed to change the course. So I went to the Faculty of Engineering. Went to the chairman, told him, you see, sir, here, there is an engineer inside here. Oh, he says, let's see your... It looks like you know how the story went. Let's look at the papers. He looks at and he says, William, with this kind of cleverness you have, you can't hack this thing. I told him, no, you don't know me. You don't know? So maybe your fears are around that place. And you are afraid about what you have done or whether you are finishing. Or maybe you are in employment, you know, the kind of pressure that comes up with targets and ensuring that you have achieved A, B, C, D. And that's where your fears are. What does the Bible say? Be strong and be courageous. Be fearless. Do not fear. Oh, of course, I will not tell you the details, but my fear was that I will not succeed if I do that. But am I successful now? You think I'm not? Don't fear. Don't be afraid. Move on. Take courage. You are facing resistance, but God says, I will be with you wherever you will be. So how do we handle that fear? By the way, fear has a way of making you feel like you're paralyzed. That you cannot do something. You know that? If you get into a room and maybe there's a cat here and a rat is up there, and this cat just swings its tail, what happens to the rat? it falls down. You didn't know that? Fear can make you do things. Fear. It kind of makes you paralyzed. You can't feel, you can start shaking or vibrating on a line, an assembly line. Kama hivi. I went without shoes. High school. I don't know why I did not have the shoes. I think it's this thing of you just want to try to see how things will turn out. I'm not very sure if I had a good reason. But that day, I walked in there, I had slippers. This is a bathroom. So tumesimama kwa line. Now assembly yetu, you stand and you one before another one. Hivyo. So mwalimu akisimama pale, you can see the students. So for whatever reason that day, the teacher was checking whether people are in shoes. And the teacher starts on the other side. And that teacher was something else. You know these teachers who would whip you until they give you robe. Robe. You know robe? Ile unapaka? Akikutandika hivi anakupatia robe ukapaki. Because for sure, hata ukitakin, people can see that something has happened. And so this teacher is going around, he's trying to see who has shoes and who does not have shoes. And you can imagine now, I know, now akiniona. Interesting thing, my legs start vibrating. I am trying to, but the legs keep on. So everyone now, this other side, they saw me, they started laughing. Now the teacher knew. Fear. My legs are just shaking like this. I just try to steady them, they can't. Somehow the teacher pulled me out. What happened on the other side, I will not tell you. But that's fear. And I'm told the science behind it is because when you are afraid, there's a part of brain that relates that you are in fear. What it does, it speaks to the nervous system. I know there are experts here, so I don't want to use the term so that nikosee waanze kunicheka. Then it releases there are some chemicals that are being released. Adrenaline, cortisol or something like that. Yes, they are preparing the body for either a fight or a flight. And that makes also your heartbeat go faster, your pressure goes up, your muscles, they kind of, it affects them, they kind of contract, your hair stands, because now the muscles are also, it also does something to your stomach. Your stomach, you feel like you want to diarrhea or something, But as that happens, as the body speaks as those chemicals affect or push some organs to react for action, interestingly, some parts of the body become impaired. A lot of blood is now sent to your limbs to allow you for that action, So you have seen people who get shocked and they fall down. It's not because they say, I felt like I did not have strength. No, it's not the strength. They had the strength. It's the coordination here that went off. Because it kind of affects the cerebral cortex, which is responsible for the decision making. And so you see some people are unable to make very good decisions. Or they make decisions that they make decisions about things that they should not even be afraid of. See people jumping even because it is an insect. It is because the mind is not able to interpret that is not actually a danger. That is not actually a threat. That's why 1 Timothy, that the one which says God has not given us a spirit of, but he has given us a spirit of what? A spirit of what? And a spirit of what? A sound mind. Because if you have a spirit of fear, it affects the sound mind. So if you are afraid, the sound mind goes. And that is how it works up there. So one, be fearless. Because the ones that you are afraid of could even be scared of you. The story of Joshua, when they have just crossed into Jericho, I don't know whether you have that. Joshua 2. I think we are not communicating. Okay, when they get to Jericho, they get to the house of Rahab. You have read that story. And when they get to Rahab, what does Rahab say? What does Rahab say? Joshua chapter 2. I think I can read for you this one. Because she expresses that we have heard what God has done for you. And the hearts of these people have melted. There is no energy in them. Now remember, these are the same people the Israelites are afraid of going to. But on the other side, the people that they are afraid of, what are they saying? There is no energy left in us. We have heard what God did for you on the other side. We have heard how he split the Red Sea. And when that message got to us, there was no more strength left in us. Now the people that you are afraid of, interestingly in this case, they were the ones who were very scared on the other side. How do we handle it? Follow God's guidance. You have not been on that route before. Just across, as they are getting into the river Jordan, when Joshua asks them to move, he tells them, let the ark be in front and follow it from a distance. And he says the reason is because you have not been on that route before. So it speaks for us that in every situation that we are finding ourselves in, we have not been on that route before. And because we have not been on that route before, then we must have a place to look unto. Look unto Jesus. Look unto his promise in his word. Have complete trust. Because the battles that are prepared are not even battles that we are winning by our strength, but battles that the Lord is ensuring that we win. When he gets into that land to do the fight, there are many instances where the actual one-on-one fight kills less people than the supernatural acts that God does. At some point, a hailstorm. And the Bible says it kills more people than the people that actually were killed by the sword. And because it is stemming from this promise that I will be with you wherever you are. In Joshua 24:12, Joshua 24, if we are there, it says, I will send a hornet before you to drive out. What if you have already been there? You know, maybe we are talking about how you want to avoid, how you don't want to be afraid, and yet, maybe you have already faced that circumstance. Maybe in terms of the grace that we are talking about, maybe things did not already work out and you are there. We are talking about the right relationships that you should have, the right companions that you should have. Maybe something has already happened. The wrong thing has already happened. We are talking about the employment. Maybe you have even lost your job at this point. Or maybe your business has closed. And here we are talking about the confidence to start. What if I had already started and I have failed? What if that job, I tried it, I did it, I have failed? What if that marriage, I was already in it and it has failed? Where do I go from here? The story of Joshua has that story again. Joshua chapter 7. Just after they cross the Jordan, the first town they get into is Jericho. A big city. A wall, fortified wall. Thickness of the wall, the Bible says about 2 meters or so. The thickness of that wall. So when you imagine that story of that wall just falling on its own, looks strange. It was not a wall like this. It was not a wall like that one. Thickness of 2 meters. 2 meters ni kama wapi na wapi? Maybe from this point to almost that point or past that point. 2 meters. That's the thickness of the wall. No wonder Rahab's house was said to have been built inside the wall. And people go around and the wall just falls. But after they leave that place, they get to another town of Ai. When they get to the town of Ai, he sends people just to spy, to see how it looks. And when they go there, they tell him, it's such a small place. It's such a small town. Don't take the whole army there. We just need 2,000. They will finish the job. 2,000 people, enough. And he sends 3,000. And when they send 3,000, what happens? They are beaten. And they are chased away. And they face such a humiliating defeat. Maybe that's the place that you are in. What does God tell him? Joshua lies flat, crying. Why has this happened? Of course, they are told about something that has happened amongst their people, the fighters that they went to. They took some things that they were not supposed to take, and for that reason, they have to make corrections. They bring out Achan, who is involved and is killed. And God tells him, go up again. I have delivered it to you. God is saying, do it again this time. But this time you are doing it with me. Do not be afraid. Don't be fearful. He's saying, even if there is something that you have done, even if you have gone through this war and you have faced a defeat, go again. You can imagine God knew that even after this defeat, he's still sending them there. He's still requiring them to be in that position. And so, as we come to the conclusion of this, is what are we picking? What are we going away with? We have talked about Joshua and what he was facing. And God is telling him not to be afraid, not to fear, to face what is ahead of him, because he's going to be with him. He's going to enable him. And in a supernatural way, he does this. We have also seen a case where along the way, a failure has happened. A failure has happened and they have been defeated. And what does he do? They learn from this failure. They take corrections on this failure and move again. Because he is asking him, why are you lying down here? Go up against Ai. And when they go there, they plan an ambush. An interesting one, this one. And they burn the whole city. They kill everyone around there, including the king of that town. So for the young people, and for all of us, the things, the items that are ahead of us, the life that is ahead of us, the choices that are ahead of us, the work that is ahead of us requires us to have courage, requires us to be strong, regardless of what the circumstances are, regardless of how enormous the task ahead looks. And the confirmation or the strength we are getting is in the word. It says, if you keep the word, speak about it, talk about it, meditate about it, do it. Think, do. Say, think, do. Exclusively the law. Let it just be the one that is guiding you, so that we will be more pleasing, we will be more prioritizing pleasing God than pleasing those who are around us and pleasing those who are the circles in which we are in. That we should not be afraid of saying no to things that we should not be involved in, for things that are not profiting us. Decisions that we have to make that have an impact on our lives are places that we need to say no and not be afraid of losing those friendships, not be afraid of losing a favor or a circumstance that we have, not to be afraid of how the future looks. And lastly, for even those that probably have faced that defeat, God is saying, rise up again, do not be afraid. It is I who walks with you. And I pray that we'll be able to really meditate on that word, to think on that word, and to have that word, that in every situation that we are facing, we are remembering God's promise to take us into victory, into this land. Bwana asifiwe.